I'm Sori.
And this is a Blackfire exclusive. So this is Deicide. It's my understanding Deicide is not really like a real black metal band, but the purpose of the Blackfire show is to do like shows that are like explicitly anti-Christian, anti-God, offensive type things. So we're reviewing a song called "Kill the Christian."
Okay, very fitting. I can see how that would be offensive to some people.
So that's gonna make it to the Blackfire show. "Kill the Christian," Deicide. Good night. So you know what the term deicide means? So
Something about God.
Suicide is self-murder.
Yeah.
Fratricide is when you kill your brother.
Yep.
Right? Because the Latin word for frat, fraternity, brotherhood.
Yep.
So fratricide is when you kill your brother. Matricide is when you kill your mother. Because mater, right, would be.
It's patricide, where you kill your father.
Right. Pater is father.
Okay,
so patricide,
and I'm guessing it means you're trying to kill God.
Right. Deos is God, or Dios. So deicide would be the killing of God.
Okay.
So the name of the name of the band, they've basically named their band God Killers, which is very interesting. Of course, on the one hand, that's supposed to be offensive, but on the other hand, the idea of killing God is actually a very deep concept in and of itself, right? Because when the atheists were uprising, one of the philosophers, I think it was Voltaire, basically said, "My job is to kill God."
Oh.
And he didn't really mean like kill the literal God in the sense of like go up to, Jannah and kill God. What he meant was there is no God, and so I am going to kill the idea of God.
Okay. Okay.
And then Voltaire was like, by the next 100 years, Christianity will fade into the ether. And then,
wow. Okay.
And then we built a church from his house or something.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, his house became like a publishing house for Christian books or something like that.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, so that's one side of deicide, right? Is like we're gonna kill God and blah, because there is no God. The other side of deicide, which is uniquely Christian, is to say that because we believe that Jesus is 100% man and 100% God, that we did end up killing God, right? But because he's divine, he couldn't stay dead, so he rose from the dead. But anyway, the name of the band is right out the gate extremely interesting. So we are going to listen to a very upbeat, uplifting song. I'm sure, by the title of "Kill the Christian."
Okay.
One wonders what that song is going to be about. All right, go. Once Upon the Cross, I think, is the title of the record.
Hear the lyrics.
It looks evil. we couldn't find the lyric video, so you had the lyrics over there.
Yep.
Okay. What's your first?
Well, I was a little disappointed by the music. I don't like that style because it's very sloppy sounding. It just didn't have like I couldn't pick up anything. Like I couldn't follow any of it.
Couldn't find a rhythm.
Yeah, I couldn't catch it.
Yeah, yeah. I think for that genre, that's how it's supposed to sound like you're like in a basement or something like that. Like it's supposed to have crap production because.
No, I didn't mean crap production. I just meant like the actual like. Usually, I can find like a way to kind of like feel the.
Well, they started arpeggiating and just like sing it, you know, you could kind of start, you know, when they started palm muting.
You could, and I
when they started palm muting, I could kind of, you know, it's like a wave, you know.
I didn't catch the wave. Yes.
The second half of the song, I was able to go with it.
Oh, okay.
The first half, it was just like, it sounded like a 5-year-old wrote the song, but like the second half, I was able to go, okay, I see what they're doing.
Okay.
Kill the Crystal, kill the Crystal.
Well, I saw your foot going, so I'm like, he's catching it. Why can't I find it?
I figured it out. Some of the metal, like you have to, it's like Opeth. You know, you got to find there's the wave, I'm jumping in. You know, so musically, I thought that, I think that these guys are probably talented. It didn't show in this, but I think for the brand of metal that they're doing, you know, that's kind of how
this brand is supposed to be.
That's how it's supposed to be, yeah.
Okay.
Which is probably one of the reasons that they were saying Cradle of Filth is not a real black metal band or something, because Cradle of Filth was just so sophisticated and so obviously very well produced.
Yep. Okay.
Like, it's one of those things where, like, if I listen to a rapper and I say to myself, I'm a better rapper than him, then I'm like, he's not a good rapper. Like, I feel like I could pick up this song and play it in 2 seconds.
I think I could do the yelling part.
Do it. Alright, so I'll air the guitar. Yeah. Alright. So this guy's angry at Christian. He doesn't like it.
Well, he talks about hypocrisy, which is so many people. That's like their big thing, like the hypocrisy of the church. What? Why do you make that face? What?
Well, I'll get to it later.
Okay, all right. Well, let's start at the top. Is that what you want to do? Start at the top?
Well, I guess, like, the irony of the lack of self-awareness in people that think like this is astounding to me. Because on the one hand, they'll say, you fucking Christians are just, like, forcing their belief on everyone, and they think they're better than everyone and stuff. And then you make a song called Kill the Christians. Like, you're saying that your belief system says that hypocrisy is bad, and you're so pissed off now. Now, I don't think he's literally saying, like, kill the Christians, but you're saying that your way of looking at the world is better than the way that the Christians are looking at the world. So how is that not a form of hypocrisy itself? This is a form of hypocrisy to me. Go ahead, you look like you don't agree.
Well, no, because I feel like... I'm sure the hypocrisy that he's talking about is Christians that'll act like they're all high and mighty and they have no sin in their lives, but then all the while they're doing all kinds of crazy...
Yeah, but he's saying morally diseased. So...
Yeah.
So in what standard is he determining that the Christians are morally deceived?
Right, he has a standard by which he can say that they're morally diseased.
And then he obviously wants
to... So he's saying because you're morally diseased, you should be killed. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But then you complain about Christians, quote, stuffing your religion down other people's... It's a weird, like...
Well, maybe he's saying, look, I'm not going around saying you should be like me. Like, well, he is kind of. He's saying you're not like me, so we should kill you.
We're gonna kill you.
Oh my God.
Like, can you imagine if a Christian band like August Burns Red came out with a song called "Kill the Gays"? Kill the gays! Kill the gays!
Wow, that would not be good.
So, or like even like I don't know, some of these people, some of these European folks, I don't know, but like kill the Jews. Like, would this work with any other religion? Like in the modern era right now, like could you come up with a song like this? And
it's true.
You know, and I'm not. You'll see my opinion on it later, but it's to me, it's a form of hypocrisy to say I'm angry at hypocritical people, because look, none of us are able to, and we've been very critical of our own camp.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But none of us, how many of you, 100% of the time, have lived up to your own standards?
I'm gonna add some crickets right there.
Seriously, who has ever been able to live up to, your own standards? And secondly, our whatever your standards are, I guarantee you they're lower than ours. And what I mean by that is our standard is Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think in most people's moment of clarity, they'll say that's a pretty high standard to live by. So I don't think that, I think all of us are very simplistic when it comes to the term hypocrisy. And I think we should be very, very skeptical of ourselves. If you're always calling people hypocrites and you're never the hypocrite, I don't know. I think that's a lack of self-awareness.
Yeah.
I think that's a complete lack of self-awareness, because what you're saying is you always 100% of the time live up to your own standards, and I think that's crazy. I think this song itself is a form of hypocrisy. Because these are the type of people that will say Christians are always trying to stuff their whatever down people's throats and blah, blah, blah. And this guy's talking about murdering people and burning their churches. So it's a form of stuffing your worldview down people's throats.
I didn't get the part where he said he's going to burn the churches. I just thought it was...
Destroy their temples and churches with fire.
Yep. Where in this world will you hide?
Yeah.
Sentenced to death
the anointment of Christ. I don't even think this guy knows what anointment means.
Yeah, I was like, what?
It's the anointing, not anointment. But okay, let's go down the line.
Yeah.
So, you're the one we despise. Day in and day out, your words compromise lives. Woo! That's an interesting one. Mm-hmm. Just to go back to the music, even though he was going raw, there was an actual meter and rhythm to how he was saying it, because he was like, "You are the one we despise."
Yes, I could hear that.
I love watching you die. You know? Mm-hmm. So I thought that was pretty good. This type of metal, you gotta switch your. It's not like the normal verse.
Is this the first one we've had like this?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm I feel like I can't even.
It's the first one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need a couple more to.
I think we're getting closer and closer to actual black metal.
Probably.
We will get there eventually, inshallah. But so there was sort of a you have to listen to it to get it, but there was definitely a meter there. Okay. Day in and day out, your words compromise lives. Woo! What do you think about that one?
Well, it reminded me of that other song that was I can never remember what the names of them are. The one that was about the abortion, where she said that Jesus told her to do it.
Right. Now, just for disclosure, the feedback, this was her, Rapture by her.
Yes.
The feedback was that this was a literal story. Remember I said it could be literal, it could be about abortion? Literally, the woman heard, and so she suffocated her own kid. So the kid was born and everything. Right? But do you think that type of thing is happening day in and day out, though?
Over the course of the entire world, stuff like that's happening? Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's the only form of compromising, words that compromise lives, because I think that, I don't know, I guess maybe standards that the church holds people to, that, when, for with our son, there's so many things that he's working on that he can't seem to he can't get past, and you're like, don't worry about all the other things you're doing, let's just focus on one thing right now. But I feel like that
basically gave him a get out of jail free card to break all the other rules.
Yeah, break them all, just focus on this one to give you a chance to really be able to focus it, so you're not overwhelmed. But I don't feel like that the church does that with people. I feel like that the church just, well, a lot of times there's just all of this, you're bad, you're wrong. I mean, this music is a perfect example of that. Here you have music that's actually helping people, but they would say, don't listen to it, it's devil music, blah, 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 Right. I mean, I don't think that this song would be helpful to people, possibly. But in my opinion, I don't know how it would be helpful, but maybe you have a different take. Maybe at a point in your life, this would have been good for you.
Well, there would have never been a point where this would have been good for me. But I think, me, for example, I had violent tendencies growing up that I had Slipknot as a channel for, or I had Korn as a channel for, or you have depressive tendencies that you have other bands as a channel for. So if you are like we said earlier in the other one, you've got people in Brazil, you've got people in Poland who've been like, I think Nergal is like in some court case right now.
I thought that was from Kentucky.
Well, there's one in Kentucky where he ripped up the Bible, but there's another one in Poland where he's because Polish is apparently an extremely Catholic country, and he's like constantly, being. So my point is, like, if you were in a context where you were outnumbered and you were surrounded by Christians, and they were constantly after you, a song like this could kind of give you the outlet that would protect you from killing a Christian. In the sense of, okay, you have an outlet where you can kind of express that type of thing. So of course, it could work the other way too.
Right.
Because
you want to do it.
I remember there were certain, in where I was growing up, we used to have these clashes with people, and I remember there was a certain type of soundtrack that I would use to get myself in a space to go and handle biz. Or I know guys who are, before they go on, missions in all over the world, like there's certain types of music that gets them in the headspace to go kill people. So I think a song like this can work both ways as far as helping or hurting, and I think it's done more helping than hurting. Like, I think if a person is predisposed to burning down a church, and we talked about that, and I don't know about the context, I don't know where Deicide is from and all the rest of it, so I'm not going to say that the church burnings that happened in the 90s in, I think, Norway, is for the same reason that this one would be. Because there's a historical context to the Norwegian church burnings that I don't know are happening here. This just seems to be just out and out just hatred for Christianity. Your words compromise lives. Yeah, I think like the way that we've treated gay people, right? Like how many of them have jumped off a fucking a bridge because. How we've engaged them, it's funny, like even gays who, the typical evangelical thing is, go to gay camp or something and then come back straight or whatever thing there is. Even those guys who say, okay, I'm not gay anymore, like the church still is horrible to them and treats them like an outsider, and guys won't hug another guy because I remember we were in church at one time and the guy, we were in the inner city and some guys stumbled in because he thought we were the gay bar. And I just distinctly remember feeling like God told me to hug the guy, so I gave the guy. I gave the guy a hug or whatever, and we talked about it in another context, and somebody was like, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't have done that. Like, what? Like, what was I supposed to do? But yeah, like how we treat people and the constant, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me is completely untrue.
Yeah.
You can, and the Bible doesn't say that. The Bible says that you can have the venom of a snake in your mouth, under your tongue. And that your words can actually set a forest on fire. I think it's James.
It says it brings life and it brings death.
Yeah, that's true. You can speak life or speak death over a person. And I think there's more often than, let me say it this way, more often than not, that the Christians who get airtime are the Christians who have enough money to get the airtime, and they accumulated that money in, and he talks about that in a second. And those are the guys that get to, I remember one specific time that was like, Ellen DeGeneres came out as gay, like, this is like 98, 97, and Jerry Falwell gets on TV and calls her Ellen Degenerate, because her name is Ellen DeGeneres. And I just remember being like, I grew up in an evangelical household, so, I'm like, oh wow, she's gay and all this, and her show pretty much died after that.
Oh really?
Yeah, it wasn't like now. Like, she was like one of the pioneers. Like, she put herself out there. Like,
wow.
That was pretty much the end of her show after that. But I remember, like, Falwell getting on TV and calling her Ellen Degenerate. And I remember my mom basically cursing him out and saying, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like a degenerate is just like horrible, terrible person.
Yeah.
And it says morally diseased in the song, which, again, is an interesting perspective. And I just remember like being so sad. It was this weird moment because I was in the inner city, so I'd seen a lot of stuff. but she got on TV and confronted him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so she goes, "Hi, Jerry," and she's smiling and stuff. Oh. And it was terrible because she's a comedian.
Yep.
And so it was this sort of like, she was saying "Hi, Jerry" with this smile on her face, but I could tell she was really hurt. But she was trying to smile through it because she was kind of like the spokesperson at the time, and she couldn't show him that. Mm-hmm. And he wouldn't back down. He said, "Yeah, you're a degenerate," and blah blah blah, and you know.
What the heck?
Well, I mean, so you know, you see.
But is he does he have any type of religion that he stands by?
Jerry Falwell?
He does. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he was the leader of the whole.
I missed who you said. Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
He was the
what the heck?
moral majority. Yeah, he called her. You know, I mean, it was a terrible moment. You know, and he was sort of the representative of evangelical Christianity. You know.
Oh, that's terrible.
So I mean, I think that there is I think when this is all over and we all meet God, I think there's a ton of blood on our hands. And I have to say because like I say, I'm never gonna, you know, I wouldn't do that, but I'm never gonna separate myself from Christians and Christianity, because even though I don't believe that that's the way of Christ, the guy was a Christian, obviously.
Right.
So we got to own that. That's our brother. You know, he did that, and so I'm a big believer in collective guilt.
Yeah.
So even though we wouldn't do that, and we, you know, we did that in the sense of, you know, we're part of the community. So I definitely see there where he said your words compromise lives. And I think when you hear a song like this as a Christian, you kind of like, you're immediately turned off and you're defensive and you know, whatever.
I didn't feel defensive. I just felt a little uncomfortable. I didn't feel defensive because I felt like people can only handle so much. Because the church is so widespread and we're in America, it kind of dominates a lot of the way that we think and a lot of the way that we do things. And so I think that you can kind of feel like it's coming at you from all angles. I mean, I don't know, like, especially if you're in a context where, I don't know, like my initial thought was, did this kid grow up, you know, in a church and then, you know, if he had some, you know, heaven forbid if I would have said growing up, oh, I'm, you know, struggle with being a lesbian, like that would have been it. Like, I don't even know if I would have even been having a room, and I really don't know, like, just the way that the reaction would have been. Like, so I don't know maybe he came out with something that he didn't think that his family could handle, but he was staying true to himself and he put it out there, and then who knows how he was treated or whatever. So I always wonder, like, my thought was, what's this person's story? Like, there's always a story behind what people say, especially, usually the crazier something sounds, the crazier the story is behind the statement. And so I just wondered what he went through that kind of brought him to the point where it would make him feel better to say, kill the Christians, Satan wants you dead, and stuff like that.
Blessing as you hate, loyal to your enemies, monetary faith.
Whoa.
That's a good line.
Yep.
Loyal to your enemies. What do you think that means?
I was looking at the monetary faith. Blessing as you hate, loyal to your enemies. Well, I mean, if the Bible says that the love of money is the root of all evil, and a lot of times you see money as the reason why churches will do the things that they do. So if you're loyal to your enemies, I mean, if loving money is the root of all evil, then when you put yourself on the side of loving money, like you're, I don't know, loyal to your enemies in that sense. I don't know, what were you getting out of it?
Yeah, there's a line in 2 Corinthians. So there's this guy Paul, and he's going around and he's starting churches, and then after he would start a church, a bunch of these charlatans would come in, and they would basically do the money thing and get the money from the sheep and all the rest of it, and they'd say, oh, that Paul guy, what does he know? Now Paul wouldn't take any money from the churches,
and he said it.
Right, so like Paul is like, aside from Jesus, my favorite guy, and you know, if I, you know, that would be like, that's in my mind the motto. Like, you go there, you put your life on the line for people, you don't take any of their money, that type of thing. And so Paul wouldn't take any money, but these guys who came after Paul, they would take money, and then they would say, "Oh, screw that Paul guy. What does he know?" Right? So Paul writes back to the Corinthians, and then the Corinthians, the people at court started going, "Yeah, we'll follow you. Forget Paul." So Paul writes back to them in 2 Corinthians, and he goes, "Oh, geez, guys," and he's a really sarcastic guy, and he goes, "Oh, geez, guys, I'm sorry that I wasn't, that I was so terrible to you guys." And he goes, "I should have been like those guys who were abusing you and taking you apart and taking your money." He explicitly says that,
okay.
I should be robbing you like these people. And he's being really sarcastic, like apologizing to them for not taking their money. But it's interesting, like this happened in the early church, and what was strange is the people followed the guys that were taking their money, and not the guy that was doing it for free. Like he was like, okay, all right, monetary faith,
Yeah, but that's easier, right? If in one sense you say, okay, if he's preaching like he's talking about faith, like salvation by faith, belief and trust in God, and then following him wholeheartedly, where the other guys are saying, if you put your money out here, this is going to save you from, like the Catholics do when they have, what's it called? Indulgences, yeah. So they would tell the people, if you buy this indulgent, it's going to get you out of purgatory early. That's easier. I would rather do something.
Yeah, during the Protestant Reformation, they were selling indulgences. I don't think they sell indulgences anymore, but
they sell services, masses. That's one of my family members just had it.
Yeah, you just had a death.
Yeah, it was a death.
I'm trying to be a little bit charitable to our Catholic friends, but I think you're right. It's still
she needed the money, and instead of the money going to her, the money went to the church to buy masses for the deceased person.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Like lots of money.
I remember that. Yeah, it was like.
And it's sad because I believe that the people that bought those masses, they were doing what they believed was the best possible thing for the deceased person. Like of their heart, they were giving that and doing that. But all the while, now you have a widow that doesn't have
on a practical level needs a fucking airplane ticket back home. And needs to
groceries
be able to set her groceries and all that shit. But it's going to the. But
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But if you believe that it's going to help you or help somebody else, it's easier to give money to that person. Because Paul wasn't threatening them.
Yeah.
These people were probably coming out in some sort of a...
Well, he says these people who are abusing you.
Do you remember that lady? You remember that time that I had met that lady? So we were like knocking on doors, going and talking to different people and passing out water and stuff to the city. And I was talking to this lady. She was like, look what I've been doing. Literally, this woman had basically nothing in her apartment. She brought out a friggin' stack of envelopes this big of, she had been sending the little bit of money she had to this place that was saying, like, if you send this money in, you're gonna get rich and you're gonna be healthy. And she was putting all her money in this. And I tried to, talk to her and explain to her that was wrong and stuff like that. But in her heart, she was so afraid to stop sending the money because she was afraid she would die or she was afraid that something terrible would happen to her family. It was the saddest thing that I have ever seen. Oh my word, it was so sad.
And there's no...
Oh, I was so angry.
There was no talking her out of it. But that's
there was. I talked her out of it, but I don't know if she gave me all the papers and told me to contact them because she didn't want to be the one to tell them I'm not doing it. But I don't know if she got another letter in the mail.
They're going to send her... Remember that time I called that thing? Because I saw this guy on TV doing the same... Now look, there is a passage, I think it's in Luke, where Jesus says, these religious leaders who devour widows' houses... Mm-hmm. Like fleeces. He said they will be punished most severely. Mm-hmm. So anyway, there was one of these guys. He was on TV and he was doing the money thing. So I called the guy and said, "Look, motherfucker, what are you doing?" I didn't say that.
You did not.
Maybe I should have played some Deicide.
You should have been like, "Let me stop this."
But I said,
we need to talk, sir.
So I called him, and of course it was his secretary or whatever. And I said, "Look, this is real fucked up. Like you're really taking advantage. You're really taking advantage." And I quoted that passage. "You're going to be punished most severely." I threatened it. And they said, so I did my whole spiel. There was a little gap. And then she goes, "So would you like to make a donation?"
Hey, is that the one that kept calling?
Yes, And then they kept fucking calling me over and over again.
They didn't hear a word you said.
And I can't remember, and I said, look, this is
Yes.
it's always some black guy in some gaiters and like a pimp suit. No, I swear to God, I can say that because I'm black. But yeah, he really was. Like, he was really, and he wouldn't stop calling us. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I finally, got smart, and, if you listen to the rest of it, it shows you how to get off the list. But, so that lady, I guarantee you right now, she's still doing that shit.
I think she's passed away by now, but...
And, in that sense, it's a blessing. But look, loyal to your enemies. And that's the same thing Paul said. Like, you were loyal to the people who are fleecing you, and then here I am, like, ready to put my life on the line for you, and you guys are, you go. It's funny. It's kind of like you get what you pay for.
Yeah. Yep.
So you don't take the person who's doing it freely seriously. Like, you feel like, oh, if I'm paying some money, this guy must be legit, right?
I mean, it does say though, like, to be balanced. It does say that if somebody is digging through the scriptures and they're putting the scriptures out there, the pastor, you're supposed to be paying them.
If they're dedicating their entire lives to actually talking and helping people, most people won't even need to be told to share.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, the only people really that I know that wouldn't naturally help a person who's like going out of their way to help them are Christians. Like, think about it. Like, look, we've got Patreon subscribers. We haven't even been asking people, but they're like, holy shit, they came up with this new camera, they got this mic, they're really trying. That's not cheap. Let me pitch in $5 a month. Like, we didn't say anything. But if you do that with a bunch of Christians, like, they won't do it. The only way they'll help you is if, like, you're actually, like, hardcore fleecing them. But if you're not hardcore fleecing them, they won't. It's just, and
I've had
weird.
friends.
It's weird.
Friends that were like waitresses and stuff, and they said anytime it was a Sunday, nobody wanted to work Sundays because all the Christians would come from church, and they'd go and they wouldn't tip worth jack.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, here they come.
Yeah.
Tipping. Like,
well, they're broke because they're
they just dumped it all.
Just dumped their mom's life savings to Pastor Pork Chop or whatever his name is.
No. That's our people, so.
Those are our people. So, I'm not gonna
listen,
like
if
those.
There's any Christians listening to
those
this,
are
you
our
take
people.
this seriously.
No, those are our people. Like,
stop doing that to people. Tip well.
On the other hand, I think that we've got a giant atheist contingent, and I think that there needs to be some self-awareness in the atheist community.
Yeah. Yep.
Because a song like this demonstrates to me a lack of understanding of history and a lack of understanding of the geographical Christianity outside of the Western world. Mm-hmm. Because I'm pretty sure if they went to Nigeria and spent a couple months with the Christians in Nigeria, they wouldn't be saying this shit.
Right. Yep.
Because the Christians in Nigeria are true cults, like legit Christians who are getting their heads chopped off, watching their wives and children get slaughtered in front of them as they get set on fire by some pretty radical elements.
Yep.
And for the first 3 centuries of Christianity, we were lighting Nero's gardens by being set on fire after being crucified and having pitch thrown on us.
Yep.
So
it's so true.
So this is the other side of it of, I had some very interesting conversations after the Exist video from Avenged Sevenfold, because I talked about the ramifications of atheist thoughts in communist China and Russia. And a lot of, I am sure, atheists who are sincere in this belief because of our lack of understanding of history said, how many people has atheism killed? Khmer Rouge? Have you heard of that? Have you heard of the Society of the Godless in Russia? Have you heard of the religious purgings in Russia and China? Look, here are the facts. It's called state atheism. Look it up in the Oxford Dictionary. Where in Russia, there was a systematic means of destroying Christianity, not just Christianity, but you had the Russian Orthodox Church, and so that was the primary target, but mosques as well. In Russia, you had the state atheism that initially started out as we're going to go to schools and de-Christianize people, and it eventually metastasized into slaughtering bishops, priests, sending people to work camps and all that in the name explicitly of atheism.
Whoa.
Marxist-Leninism. Hello. This is fact. This is not my opinion. This is a fact. And I'm not saying that if you're atheist, it's automatically going to lead you to kill millions of people and send them to the gulag. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying, though, is we got to practice some self-awareness. This stuff, kill the Christian, burn the churches, all this, there were like 34,000 Russian Orthodox churches prior to the purges in Russia, when Leninism and Stalinism began to take over. And then by the end of the purges, there were like 200. Think about that. You know, I mean, thousands and thousands of people were killed by explicit atheistic regimes.
Wow.
That's a fact.
Whoa.
Oxford Dictionary, look it up. There's whole books written about it. Let's just educate ourselves and not say silly things like how many people is atheism killed. You shouldn't do that.
Do you think they knew?
Who?
The people that are saying.
No, I don't think the people. I think that there's a lot of pop atheism with Richard Dawkins and things like that, and you know, you watch the YouTube video and you wonder, oh, that's that, and I'm good with that because there's a lot of we're a YouTube channel, so you can't make fun of YouTube. But what happens is, just like you have Christians who don't know their history, you have Christians who don't know what we did in the Crusades. You have Christians.
No, it's true.
You have Christians who they go, well, that was the Catholics. Okay, witch trials. That wasn't the Catholics. Salem witch trials. Those are Protestant, Presbyterian, true and true over there in New England.
Yeah.
But you have Christians that have no idea about any of this stuff, and they just think that the Christianity that they know and practice, or that they read about in the Bible, is like the Christianity that's been practiced historically. That's not true.
Right.
Well, it's the same thing with our atheist friends. Most of our atheist friends are good, loving people who love music, love each other, love us, very high moral caliber, right? Very generous people, right? And they think that the atheism that they're practicing is historically atheistic. It's not true. Good night.
Yeah, we all have to practice the open-mindedness.
Yeah,
I know everybody appreciates us being open-minded, but we all have to do it so that way we can come to like some understanding.
Yeah, read A History of Marxist-Leninist Atheism and Soviet Anti-Religious Policies, Volume 1 by Dmitry Popskalevsky. And then get back to me and say that atheism hasn't been responsible for murdering thousands of people. What was the guiding principle of the Khmer Rouge over there in Pol Pot and the rest of them? I mean, atheism, this form of atheism, you know, just like you have denominations of Christianity, you have denominations of atheism, and it's undeniable. And, you know, I message me, I can give you book after book and article after article of secularists who talk about this phenomena in Russia and China and the rest of it. It's indisputable. And look, just like I say, Jared Falwell, I don't believe he had the heart of Christ when he was saying that, but we owned it. We said, yeah, I mean, he's a Christian.
Yeah.
And the Crusaders, you know, we're hardcore Protestant, but we're still going to own the Crusades. We're not going to say, I mean, there were, you know, there were no Protestants during the Crusades, but you know what? We're still going to own it. It's part of Christian history. And you know, Christians have done amazing things in the world. We've built hospitals. We've built orphanages. We went into leper colonies and contracted leprosy and died with the people that we're serving. We've done amazing, beautiful things in the world in the name of Christ. And we've also done horrible things in the world in the name of Christ. We got to own it. So this whole thing about like kill the Christians, like on the one hand, it's art, it's expression, but historically speaking, when you're talking about burning down churches and murdering people, torturing them in horrible ways and things like that, that's not just, you know, a song that expresses a particular angst that you have against Christianity. Historically speaking, that has been the lot of literally millions of Christians since the inception of Christianity.
Yeah.
And here's my thing about it. I'm not complaining. And here's why. I don't think that when I think about the Crusades and how we kill people versus stuff like this and how we've been killed, the scripture says that we're supposed to be the ones being killed, not doing the killing.
Absolutely. Yep.
So Jesus says, behold, I send you as sheep among wolves. Paul said, for your sake, we're being slaughtered all day long.
Yep.
Right? So there's some 9-year-old kid right now making a decision between his head and his faith, right?
Yep.
Like, But that's authentic Christianity.
Yeah.
That's what's supposed to happen.
That makes people say, why are these people so willing to die? Like,
right.
I mean, how many things are you literally willing to die for? Not just as a thought in your mind, but literally on the line when it's coming down to it. And like he said, sheep among wolves. If you've ever seen a wolf destroy a sheep, it's bloody, it's terrible. And like even some of the ways that the Christians went out have been so horribly violent, but they've done it because they believed in something.
Well, even Pliny, you know, as he was writing his histories over there in Rome, talked about how it was so brutal for the Christians in the Colosseum that even the bloodthirsty crowd was saying, just kill them and get it over with.
Yeah, it's too much.
It's too much, right? But you know what? That's how it's supposed to go for Christians. That's what it says. We're not supposed to be the killers. So if I take a song like this versus the Jerry Falwell thing where he called Ellen degenerate, that is millions of times more offensive to me and antichrist than this. This is supposed to happen.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, this is supposed to happen to us. We're not supposed to be the ones, mocking people and literally murdering people with our words. If somebody has to die in this equation, it should be us. It shouldn't be other people. So, there you have it. Okay, well, sentenced to death, the anointment of Christ. I mean, it's true. Like, that's what was
I don't even understand that sentence, the anointment of Christ. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm not sure that anointment is a real word, but an anointing is what happens when you're going to be commissioned to do something.
Oh.
And so, he's basically saying, oh, you follow Jesus, well, then you can die too like Jesus.
Okay.
Which is true. So anyway, we love you. We love Deicide, the band, the people in the band. And let's all be open. Look, if you've got an issue with anything I said, we've got the podcast. So let's set up the podcast. Let's talk about it.
Right.
Let's educate one another. Let's listen to one another so that we don't have to make songs about killing each other. What do you give this song? 1 to 10.
A 3.
A 3? Why?
Yeah, I just don't like the style of it.
The metal didn't.
Even if it had, like, let's say the words were like crazy and they were like all this I just don't like. I'm not into the style of it. It's too chaotic for me. I like some order. I understand that there was an order to it, but I couldn't pick up on the order, and because I couldn't pick up on the order, it just was chaos.
Yeah, I felt like they kind of like. It's like I don't feel like they spent a lot of time on this song.
When you're in the airport and there's those things that like go, it almost looks like a conveyor belt and you can walk on it and so you're walking faster and you kind of feel like you're like, I kind of felt like that. And I don't like that feeling when I'm listening to music.
Yeah. I didn't really feel like they spent a lot of time on that. I give it a 6. Because I could catch the rhythm. I wish it was a little bit longer. It was only 3 minutes. So I would have liked, there was like a little solo section at the end. But like I said, I don't know if it's a genre thing, but I feel like we could have done, Opeth was 2 minutes too long. I felt like this was 2 minutes too short. I felt like they could have went somewhere else, like sonically. Or like they could have been a really heavy, but I like I said, I don't know if that's a genre thing or what. I'm sure we'll get more Deicide for the Blackfire show, but I give it a 6 because when on the second half of the song, when I got the rhythm, I was like, okay, like this makes sense. And I don't like vocals like that, to be honest with you, because I like Nergal's vocals in Behemoth because like I can understand what he's saying. And for me, heaviness is not just the rhythm and the heaviness of the beat, but like what you're saying.
Yeah, I agree.
Like the creeping death, die my head. Like, okay, like I see what this guy's saying. If I can't understand it, it's not as heavy to me.
I see.
So it would have probably got like an 8 from me if it was 2 minutes longer and a little bit more clear, but I'm gonna give it a 6. So you give it a 3, I give it a 6. So 6 plus 3 is not 4.5 average. Yikes. Come on, Deicide fans, give us another song that has like better musicianship.
Yep.
All right. All right, well, there you go. Blackfire Show, take 1. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.